can you recommend a similar JRPG like Rogue Galaxy? One where you travel from planet to planet in an action RPG combat. I think there isn't better recommendation than the Star Ocean series. In some of them you do visit more than one planet, like Star Ocean The Last Hope, which is chronologically the first Star Ocean ever made. You should check that out. It's on PS3, Xbox 360, PS4 digital. It's probably on PS5 as well. You can get it on PS5 digital remaster. It's not really a remaster, it's more like the graphics were upscaled and that's it. Even though Square Enix kind of calls it a remaster, but it isn't. So, yeah. The Star Ocean series, definitely. What others? There's barely any. There's one called the Infinite Space, but it's vastly different. But you do get the same, you do visit different planets. But most of the gameplay is menu-based. The dialogue is on the visual novel style. And then the battle system sucks, so... Unfortunately, I don't know if I can recommend this game. Infinite Space. It has a lot of fans on the Nintendo DS, but not really. I mean, no, not really. But it has a similar concept, okay? Can't think of a better recommendation than the Star Ocean series, to be honest. Do you think JRPGs need more visual progressions like outfits or new gears? No. Well, it depends on the game, right? There's gotta be a bunch of RPGs out there that will easily benefit from those characteristics, but I don't think so. I personally don't place a lot of importance in outfits or gears, except if I'm playing a game where the girls are like really sexy and they are like the point of the game. Well, maybe not the point, but there's a lot of fan service, you know? Okay, I'll take a few outfits, but I understand that outfits nowadays are pretty much DLC, most of them, and I don't support that, you know, paying for a fucking outfit. That's just ridiculous in my opinion. But, to answer your question, need more visual progressions like outfits or new gears? No. I mean, sure, you spend in most JRPGs, almost every single one of them. I mean, there's a few exceptions here and there. Tales of Graces is one of them. But in 99% of JRPGs, the character has the same outfit from beginning to end. Doesn't them? They always. Guy or girl, the exact same outfit from beginning to end, right? And the same gear. Well, gear is a little bit more frequent. You do get a lot of JRPGs with characters that have like different equipment. And if you change their weapon, or not their armor, but their weapon, you know, it changes. That's something that we see a little bit more often in JRPGs. Like if they're equipping a lance this time and now a sword, the animations change to the sword. Or if the sword is from a different color or a different style, you know, the sword changes during battle. That's something we see more often. When it comes to outfits, you're kind of right. I mean, we see the exact same outfit. They're wearing the exact same clothes. That one outfit the entire game from beginning to end. I guess it's because, well, you need to keep in mind that most JRPGs take place within a very small, short timeline. Like, you play them for weeks, months, but in reality, the time that elapses in the game is just a few days, maybe. But still, I mean, days elapse, and they're wearing the same clothes, so it doesn't make any fucking sense, right? They should be more realistic. So, yeah, to answer your question, it will be more interesting if we start seeing more of that. You know, it is extremely rare to find a JRPG that does that. Unless they have some kind of time jump. But years apart, like a few years have elapsed and now they have different clothes, like Tales of Graces, Fire Emblem Three Houses. You know, but for like months, entire days, weeks, months, you know, they wear the same outfits, or the same gear, right? It will be fun to have them, if you change armor, to make them change the armor in-game with the in-game graphics. It will be more interesting, you know. I would love to see more JRPGs like that. Do you like games with complex alchemy and weapon creation? No, man. No, my man. No, I don't. I don't. To be honest, no. I want alchemy and weapon creation or customization to be easy or traditional, you know. I came from an era where All you did was buy the latest weapon, or the newest weapon on the next town, and equip it, and all your stats go up, you know. Like, I came back recently to my playthrough of Tales of Berseria, and I fucking hate the equipment system. Every single piece of equipment, even accessories, you know, increase some stats but reduce other stats. I hate that, man. And there's an enhancement system which is better. I like that. I prefer that, you know. But like trying to materialize something, like gather materials and create this weapon, you know, kind of like God Eater. Like God Eater series is like that. You need a bunch of materials, different materials, and this and that, and this combination, weird combinations to create the next best weapon. I hated that with a passion. That's the reason why I ditched every single one of them. I mean, I beat the first arc of God Eater 1, 2, and 3. Well, in 3 I beat the second arc as well. I miraculously made it. But the other two, the first two God Eater games, you know, I ditched them because I couldn't find the right materials, and in order to find them, I needed to hunt 10,000 monsters and kill 10,000 bosses, and it was just ridiculous, man. They, like I said in my video, they overstay their welcome. So, and when it comes to complexity, like alchemy and stuff like that, it's the same, you know. I prefer complexity maybe in battle systems or in storytelling. I fucking love that. But when it comes to small things like that, like weapons, armor, accessories, or alchemy, like in some Atelier games, some of the alchemy synthesis is like a little bit more complex than it should be. So I'm not really a fan of that, man. I like my complexity in other areas, not in small details like that, like weapon, armor, potion, stuff like that. You know, it's just not my thing. I always kept weaker weapons in games that gave special status effects because they might become useful. Oh yeah, me too. I'm always like, I always keep those types of equipment. When it comes to armor, accessories, you know, that one accessory, I sell everything, you know, except the accessories that are like resistant to poison, resistant to slow, or it's a fire weapon. And I might face an ice elemental creature or a boss or something, and if I equip the fire weapon, I'll do more damage. You know, I'm the same. I never sell or get rid of those equipment. What was the first fan-translated JRPG you ever played? Gee, man, I don't remember. Some of the very, like the earliest ones, Persona 2 Innocent Sin. Because I played it before the PSP version existed. Before the PSP version, Innocent Sin was an only in Japan game, the PS1 version, but it was fan-translated. I think that's the first one. It's probably the first one. Or no, Suikoden 2, because I played it in Spanish. The first time I played Suikoden 2, it was in Spanish. Final Fantasy 9 was the same. The first time I played it was in Spanish. So, I mean, those translations, those Spanish translations are unofficial, right? In the original PS1, many years ago. Yeah, Final Fantasy 9 in Spanish, Suikoden 2 in Spanish, Persona 2 Innocent Sin in English, Tales of Innocence on the Nintendo DS, Tales of the Tempest also on the Nintendo DS. Those are some of the first ones I played. From your point of view, what do you think about the future of the East and the Legend of Heroes series? Are they on the right track? I don't know, man, because we have yet to play the latest releases. Trails Through Daybreak is coming out in a couple of months, and East 10 does not have an official release date yet. It's just they're just saying that it's going to be released during the fall of this very same year. So I'm going to have to play them first to have a proper opinion and say, oh, they are still on the right track. But based on the last ones, here's my opinion. Based on East 9 and based on Trails into Reverie, Trails seems to be on the right track, but this new game, upcoming game, is going to be its own story, its new story arc. Barely anything to do with the previous games. Sure, some things will still carry over and some characters will still appear and make a comeback. But it's probably going to be more of a self-contained story. So, but after playing Trails into Reverie, I think that the future is okay, seems fine. We don't know what's gonna happen. Apparently, there's the final game in the series, in this new arc. Daybreak arc is called Goodbye or Farewell to Semuria, so that's gonna be the end of the series, I think. So we're just gonna have to wait and see. You know, I don't have any expectations whatsoever when it comes to the Trails or the Legend of Heroes series. But when it comes to East, East 10 looks great, but I'm more worried about East than Trails, and I'll tell you why. Because the East series started having a bunch of party members and different playable characters for the past several games, and then East 10 is only going to have 2 playable characters, Adol and the girl, and that's it, and that's gonna be the entire game. And I'm not sure I'm a fan of that, to be honest. I don't know. I don't think, in terms of party members, I don't think that's the right direction or the right track, honestly. Everything else looks fine. I've seen the trailers, I've seen the gameplay footage they have released. I've seen some Japanese gameplay, and everything else looks bonkers. The graphics, the music sounds great. The battle mechanics, the controls, the combat, you know, the exploration, everything sounds perfect. I have no complaints about that. It's just the party members things. And that's it. And about localization and woke bullshit, you know, I'm a bit worried because there was a specific character on East 9 that was kind of like, why is that? I mean, why? But it was just an NPC, the bartender, you know, and it was like, okay, you know, I don't have a problem with that, you know, but who knows what's waiting for us when it comes to East 10 or East 11 in a few years, if it ever gets released or if it ever gets developed. So yeah, I'm a bit more worried about the East series and the Trail series, you know, but I think right now they are, overall, they seem to be in the right track. But we're just gonna have to wait and see. I need to play those 2 games to properly answer that question. To say, oh, they are on the right track, or no, they're not. Like East 10, for example, like I said, not to repeat myself, but having only 2 playable characters, that's, I don't know how I feel about that. 2 characters is fine. I never said he was wrong, you know, it's just for that series. I mean, take a look at the Tales series. The Tales series have had multiple party members since the beginning. I know East is not the same case, but we've gotten multiple party members in every East game, except Origin, during the past several years. 10 years. More than 10 years. 15 years of party members in the East series. And all of a sudden, only 2? Would you say the same about the Tales series or Star Ocean? You know, only 2 party members, only 2 playable characters? Okay. I don't know, man. I just don't know how I feel about it. I'm gonna have to play the game. It's probably still gonna be bonkers, you know. Is turn-based JRPG becoming less and less of a thing now? No, it doesn't seem to. We talked about this in the last stream. I don't think so. I think turn-based is still very much alive. Sure, we don't get as many as we did in the 90s or early 2000s, you know, but there's still a heck of a lot of turn-based JRPGs. It's just the mainstream, the big ones are not, some of them are not action anymore, Final Fantasy, for example, but there's still a lot. Dragon Quest, Persona, Shin Megami Tensei, there's a lot of them. I remember doing 2 videos some time ago. What was it about, like 3 years ago, I think it was 3 years ago, right? 2.5 years ago, called Top 10 Best Modern Turn-Based JRPGs. If you go and watch those videos, you'll get a lot of, there's 20 in there, 20 at least, and there's more have been released. You got Yakuza Like a Dragon, you got series that were action and now they're going turn-based, like the Yakuza series. Like a Dragon 1 and 2, Infinite Wealth, you know, they're turn-based RPGs. In fact, I've been playing a heck of a lot of turn-based RPGs this year. Persona 3 Reload, the remake, that was turn-based. They didn't change it to action. They could have done that, but no. Trails Through Daybreak is going to combine both. Action and turn-based, going to give the player the option. I don't know, I still see a crap ton of turn-based RPGs, people. What do you think about the Trails hybrid battle system? I was just talking about it. I think it's cool. I think more JRPGs should do that. Give the player the option to go action or turn-based if they want to. Why not? Once that game releases in the West, you know, I'm pretty sure it's gonna do something. It won't be long before we see another JRPG with that same hybrid battle mechanic. I think it's a good idea. I wouldn't like to see that in every single JRPG, you know, but I would love to see that in more JRPGs. For example, it's too late for Final Fantasy VII Remake. But if Final Fantasy IX ever gets a remake like that, Square Enix, please do that. Please. Give the player the option to switch between turn-based and action. I mean real fucking turn-based. There's nothing turn-based about Final Fantasy VII Remake, because I've seen some of you saying, oh, it's got some turn-based. There's nothing turn-based about Final Fantasy VII Remake. Nothing whatsoever. All you do is pause the game to bring up the menu. That's not turn-based. You can do that in a lot of action RPGs as well. Okay, but if Square Enix ever decides to remake any other Final Fantasy game with like modern graphics, I don't mean HD 2D, like Final Fantasy VII Remake graphics, you know, please do that. I know they're not gonna listen to me, and they're still gonna turn everything into a fucking hack and slash, but if they ever do that, that's what I think Final Fantasy IX Remake should be like. Give the player the option to do both, you know. Metaphor is also doing it. Oh, okay. Couldn't care less about that game, but if it's doing it, that's great. That will be another example. And I hope other JRPGs follow. Just not all of them, only some of them. You know that. Oh, you know I want to do that too. Players want action RPGs over turn-based, but there's still a lot of players who want turn-based, so I'm gonna give them both. That's a good example. Tales shouldn't be like that. Yeah, Tales offering the player turn-based and action. No. That's Ys. Ys is another one. Never do that with Ys. Never. You know, but I mean like new JRPGs or remakes. You know. Yeah, games from a series that's already been action or strategy for the longest time, you know, don't do that. I heard that Eiyuden Chronicle has a sequel and is in development. Well, we'll see how it turns out now that the creator, developer, and writer of the series is dead. Okay, Yoshitaka Murayama passed away, and who's gonna write the script now? Who knows? Junko Kawano worked on Suikoden 4. I think she was the writer in Suikoden 4, so she's still there, so maybe she can do something. And Suikoden 5 wasn't written by Murayama, and it turned out to be a blast of a story, so maybe, right? I'm not gonna be too negative or pessimistic when it comes to an Eiyuden Chronicle sequel. In fact, I'm gonna have zero expectations. I'm not gonna expect anything, especially from nowadays. You know, if 505 games localize it, you bet your ass gonna be politicized again. But we'll see what happens. I have no expectations for an Eiyuden Chronicle sequel, nor am I too excited for it. It's best that way. I've learned that it's always better to have zero expectations on games or anything nowadays, because there's just a lot of disappointment nowadays. So it's always better to keep your expectations to a minimum or to zero for everything. Persona 3 Remake, Reload. I didn't have any expectations. I was like, oh, it's probably gonna be politicized, and it fucking was, unfortunately. Censored and altered and whatever, you know, but I was, when it comes to gameplay mechanics, and I didn't know what they were going to be like or what they were going to do with the gameplay itself. Battle system included and exploration and all that jazz, and I was like, and my expectations were, they dropped to zero, and then I played the fucking game and yeah, too bad about the localization. But that's Atlus for you. It's not just Atlus of America, that's Atlus in Japan as well. It's like Sega, they're starting, it's like Ryogo Gataku Studio, they're starting to auto-censor and auto-alter their own things in Japan, the Japanese. So remember my video how I said that the Japanese developers are the ones who should stand up? Yeah, forget about Atlus. Atlus is nowadays a woke company, even in Japan, unfortunately. And that's why I'm not interested in Metaphor ReFantasia. Whatever happened to Penny Blood and Armed Fantasia? Someone always asks that in my Q&As every Sunday, and I say the same thing, they're still in development. No news whatsoever yet, but they're still in development. They're working on them.